Welcome back to the channel. Recently I was commissioned to make another jerry can bar, very similar to the Jack Daniels one that I made. I'll show you right here. But this one is going to hold a different size bottle in it. I'm going to use a 1943 jerry can. This is the British one. I'm not sure exactly, but what I can find out is the first delivery into World War II was in 1943, and this is a 1943 can. I have another one of these, and I have another 1944 can. So it's pretty old. It still has the WD on for War Department, and I had to sand it down, but right there it says 1943 on it, so I think that's pretty cool. It's in pretty rough condition, so I'm going to try to strip this down with a new product. I've never used it before. You spray it on, and hopefully it cleans it up. The inside, from what I can tell, is a little bit rough, so we're going to have to really work on the inside as well, even though you won't see the walls, but I still got to get all the smell out of this. We're going to start now by cleaning this thing up, try to show you how I did it, step by step if I can. You know, anytime anybody does stuff like this, you get excited, and you start doing something and you realize, shit, I forgot to turn the camera on. So I hope you enjoy this. Let's get going on this. Okay, so this has been sitting for about 45 minutes. I'm really not sure what this is going to do. Let's see if this wipes off, or if this just isn't what I thought it would be. Okay, this isn't doing anything. The paint stripper that I used did not work very well. So I managed to have access to a sandblaster. I'm going to finish sanding any real rough spots of rust, but it actually looks really great. Looks really good. I'm glad the way it turned out. As you can see with the first coat on there, a primer to protect the paint, there are some spots that I need to sand down, so that really helps and shows me what I need to work on, which areas. So been a couple days since we painted this. Now it's time to cut the door. Gonna hinge it on this side. We're gonna tape this up, cut it. I prefer to cut it with a jigsaw with a metal blade. Some people use a grinder, but I don't know. I just prefer the jigsaw with a metal blade, and I think it's just a nice, cleaner cut. So let's get some tape. I would prefer to use 2-inch wide tape, but I don't have any more of it, so. I put enough tape on here so that when I run the jigsaw across it, I don't scratch it. So there will always be enough for the whole blade or the whole base of the jigsaw to ride on it. Just grab any board that's taller, of course, than your can. I use the same ruler every time. I put it along the base, just like that, and I draw my line. Put it right on the edge of the top of the can right here. And I'll just make one little mark right there. Then bring this back to it. Trace my line. So then we'll use a tape roll to curve around the edges. So before I go on any farther, I need to mark the area where I'm going to put the hinge. I found a couple of hinges. These will work. I'm going to have to paint them black though. But first I'm going to mark the area where they go. I'm going to drill the holes for whatever size rivets that I'm going to use. I prefer to use rivets. To me it just looks cleaner. I mean, you can use nuts and bolts if you want to, but I don't know, I've just always preferred using rivets. I can pick some up at my local hardware store. They're pretty cheap. Okay, now that we got that tape down there, I'm going to get the rivet that I'm going to use and see if it fits exactly in there, or if I have to drill those holes a little bigger. See, that's really good. So it means I should be able to drill with the 4.5 millimeter. No, actually the 4. 4.5 is too big. Actually, I think that's just perfect. Really want to make sure this thing doesn't move. Alright, so it looks like we got some work to do on the inside. Okay, so right now we're going to mock up the door just so I know how much more I need to cut off of it. So what I need to do is figure out the thickness of my seal and how much I need to cut off. So this is a seal that I'm going to use. I picked it up at a local hardware store. So it looks like I need to take about 2 millimeters off of the door. Just got to figure out what that distance is, and that should be what my gap needs to be. I think that'll work. If I spread it out, yep. I love that sound. Okay, let's mark this. Ah, there it is. All right, let's put the seal on here and see how it works. Actually, I don't even know if I have enough seal to do this. Always cut it just a smidgen bigger than you want. That way when you put it in here, it'll create a little bit of pressure. All right, well, I don't have enough to do the whole thing, but see if I have enough to go around just this outside edge. It's okay, that's... All right, so we got the seal done. Let's take this off. I'm gonna finish cleaning out this. I'm not trying to get the paint off, but I am trying to get off anything that's loose and just trying to get the smell out. Before we finish the inside, we're going to start working on the wood. It's probably the hardest part. The hardest part is doing the bottom, because every can seems to be different even though they all look the same. So we're going to start working on the bottom, and I'll show you how I go about trying to figure this out. I'd say about 6 1/4 inches by 13 inches. But because of the way that it's curved on the inside, that's not what our actual measurement's going to be. It's just going to give us a rough start. So we can put the first piece in and see how it looks. So what I like to do is I grab little shims like this. They're about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch. Put one on each side. And I can see that I'm still teetering, so put 2 of them on there, and that's the same thing I'll do on all 3 sides when I'm doing this to compensate for this center part, the weld. After working it, this is what I came up with. I've used the table saw to do the center parts here. I put a 45-degree bevel on this side, notched out the ends. There, it fits in there nice and snug. It's not going anywhere. Now with the inside, here, it's the same thing. You're going to put a couple pieces of wood in spots around it. Could use 1/4 inch or 3/8, whatever it is, just to get over that lip. As thin as you can go, the more room you'll have. But you can see right here, the can is contoured up here on both sides, round in the top. So you have to take all that into consideration. These are just temporary. I put one on each of these. Take a scrap piece of wood and see if I can go all the way across. Yep, that seems to work. let's try this way. Now see, that way isn't going to work because the can is contoured on the end. So that won't work. It'll work this way, but not this way. Okay, so I've got my back wall cut. I've also got the top curved to match this curve up here. And the inside, I have at 45-degree angles. It helps take up for the back's walls, which are at a slight angle. Actually, yeah, all four sides in this. So when I put this in here, it'll just go in like so. Okay, now for the sides, I try to go about 1/8 of an inch from the top of the wood. And that's where I like to end this first piece. I'd say about 13 5/8. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that one. And you can see I'm just slightly shy of the top on that side. And this one can go in here. I went and cut a bunch of longer ones. But the width on the side, yep. You can use whatever thickness you want. I need it to go just clear that and to make it a smooth area for me to glue the wood to. The shims will be glued to this panel and then they'll be glued to each other first. I'll use wood glue for that, and then I have another adhesive that I use on the inside. Grab a piece of wood. Now we need to work on the top. Start with this little piece up here first. So I've got this one cut, but I'm going to have to cut around that. So what I'll do is I'll use my pencil and mark how wide this weld is. Okay, so I got a couple little marks here. Okay, so we've got the bottom cut out. Now, because of the way I did the top, I can go past the edge of this, so it'll help rest on the side panel. Okay, so we got everything mocked up. We're good. I'm going to start securing the shims on the inside. And I'm going to start cleaning the wood up. All the pieces cut for the walls. Today I glued on the little wooden strips. So we're going to take this off and see how that works. For the inside, I used contact cement. So this is my bottom piece of wood. I've got it planed down to the thickness I need. I've beveled the sides, routed out the bottom just to fit over this groove. So we'll put that in. Wrong way. So now I will use another adhesive that I get. Contact silicone construction adhesive, and I will put it on the bottom, and I will stick this to this and then weigh it down so it holds, and it's not going to go anywhere. It'll be permanent. Okay, so while we're waiting for that inner part to dry, we're going to start working on the French cleat. So let's go over to this side. And I've got it set up with a little jig. Okay, so we got our washer and our bolt. Fits in there good. We're going to put this in and put a lock nut on it, and then we're going to cut off the excess.